Well, thank you for being here again because today's show we have a special guest. Her name is Shannon, and Shannon is an autism mom. She has been on a path for a little over 5 years, I believe it is now. And I think it's really important for a lot of parents to know that there is hope and inspiration, and other parents who have children with autism who have had successful results in seeing their child have more improvements in their life is really, really a way to, again, show that inspiration and give you continued hope and to understand how it can be done and what has happened for other people and their stories. And Shannon has a son, Paul Robert, who was nonverbal, and her most desired um, piece, what she wanted the most, was to hear her son say "mom" for the first time. And I think it's really exciting that at age 5, he said "mom." And I love, Shannon, that you caught it on video. I mean, what are the chances? So, Shannon, welcome and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. I am privileged to be part of the voice and a message of hope for all those parents who are wanting to do the best that they can for their kids. And I'm just thankful to have this opportunity to tell my story.
Yeah, absolutely. And why don't you start from the beginning? I mean, how old was Paul Robert when he was diagnosed, and just kind of move on from there. What happened after your diagnosis?
My son was developing typically, beautiful, bright baby boy. He was identifying body parts and pointing to things when I asked him to. And then slowly over time, there was a moment, but I'll go back there. Um, Slowly over time, I started to notice that he stopped waving by. He stopped pointing to his body parts when I asked him to. He did have a few little words here and there, but he hadn't said mama yet. Um, so I noticed something was a little off. And although parents and friends and family and people who care about you have every well intention in the world, when I would ask, is there something, do you notice anything a little bit off? The response I would get would be, oh no, he's fine. Babies, boys especially, start talking later in life. Just be patient. I don't notice anything wrong. And I have a neighbor who lives across the street, and she has a daughter that was diagnosed with autism. And I had gone over there with Paul Robert, and she said, you might want to have an evaluation done because I'm starting to see some of these things that I saw in my daughter. And at first, I kind of brushed it off. I didn't know anything about autism at all. Um, so it wasn't even on my radar. But as time went on, uh, he went in for his vaccinations, and it was kind of like the nail in the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will. Within 3 or 4 days of him having his vaccines, he got a high fever. Um, his eyes rolled in the back of his head, and then from there, he just kind of declined and declined and declined. And so I knew I had to do something. So we had an evaluation done. We got started with ABA at the beginning, which was a very scary process because you have all these people coming into your home and and working with your child, and you're thinking, this is not at all what I expected to be going on with my son. But about a week before his third birthday, we were referred to see a child psychologist. And walking into that office, I was very confident that we were not going to receive an autism diagnosis, only because everybody had been telling us, he's fine, he'll grow out of it, it's going to be okay. But again, walking into that office was very different than walking out of that office. And the psychologist, I got the feeling that he kind of gave this diagnosis a lot. So he wasn't very compassionate, I would say. he basically said, all you can do is continue with the ABA and then go from there. And I was trying to find some answers from him. What does autism mean? What does this mean? Does this mean he's intellectually uh, delayed, or does this what is autism? I don't understand. And he said, well, autism is a communication disorder and social disorder. Um, Intellectually, I don't know where he's going to land. We don't know. So still it didn't answer the question, is autism an intellectual problem or not? And it was from there that I first began my journey trying to understand, is autism an intellectual disability? And so I began my journey. I started doing research. I'm a researcher by nature. So I dug in deep and I started reading every article, every book I could possibly find. And I think that by human nature, we try to get from the shortest point from A to B. And so I began a protocol that is very simple. Um, and I saw some improvements, but I knew that if I were really going to do something that was going to be impactful for my son, it was going to have to take more than that. And I was going to have to be willing to just dive in with all of my heart. And so from there, things have been really, going in the right direction. I saw you at a Taka conference in 2019. I had been listening to a bunch of lectures from doctors all over the world, and a lot of their information was fantastic. I knew that the first meeting I went to, when they were speaking about autism being a medical diagnosis and not an intellectual disability, I knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be. And I got filled with tears looking around the room of all these parents, and I knew that I was amongst my tribe. And so I had listened to a master class, I believe it was, that you did, and you were speaking about the importance of healing the gut, which is the first stage in your program. And I had just come out of a conference on the gut. And so I approached you and I said, I've been doing this protocol. And you said, yes, I've heard of that before, but there is so much more to this.
I hear that a lot. People are stopped short of diet or gut work only, and they don't know that there's so much more to do. Because
Mhm,
as you're finding, uh, autism is not a mental illness. It is a biological one, and it is
mhm,
created by environmental toxins. So we have to go through and repair the damage that's been done and then allow the body to heal itself. And that then the gut does control the brain.
mhm.
So it's very important to begin there with the stability, but there is so much more, as you now know, to do. So go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to put that in there. Yes, you're absolutely correct, and I'm so glad that you continued to forge on as you did.
Yeah, it takes a lot of guts to make that defining decision. If I'm going to take Am I going to take the easy road and just see what happens, or am I going to, like you said, forge on and continue to research and to continue to look into it, and all these different things and different aspects of autism. It can be so confusing and so daunting and just this process of just overwhelming information. And not only that, you have this person saying this and this person saying that about the exact same thing. And so which one is correct? I decided to join your program because, just like if you want to have financial freedom, then you talk to those who have it. If you if you want to be anything, then you speak to those who are that you want to be. And you have a son who is fully recovered. You have you have obviously done your research. And I think that a lot of parents, and one thing I want to say here is that something really clicked when you said recovery, the definition of recovery is regaining health. Um, that is incredibly important to me to keep in the forefront of my mind, because my son, Paul Robert, is not autism. He is him.
Exactly.
And with every single piece of this puzzle that is so nicely laid out in your program, with every single piece, it pulls back one more layer and one more layer, and it allows him to shine through as him. Some of them are more obvious than others. Obviously, when my son started saying mama, that was a wow moment in my life. But now that he's speaking more and more and more, he's putting sentences together. Now I can see and hear who he is. And he has a brilliant mind.
Yeah.
And
And
he,
they can't give us their brilliance and share it and be who they are with all of this stuff in their way. So we're getting all of that, the toxins, the inflammation, all those things that are in their way, and letting them, as you say, allow them to be themselves and who they really are.
Mhm. Exactly. I think that the general consensus of autism is that it is, I think that most people think it's more like Rain Man, if you've ever seen the
Mm.
movie.
Yes.
But that, I mean, I'm sure that there are autistic people that are like that. However, kids on the spectrum are kids. They are just them. And so we want to give them every opportunity to be able to express themselves and to be into the things that they're into, and to be able to tolerate different situations. I remember right after the diagnosis, to get my son ready to get on the bus to go to school was an absolute anxiety attack.
Oh, I remember that one well.
Whew,
I
I,
still remember it was a long time ago.
it's it was a panic attack every morning. I would wake up with, I couldn't get my breath, knowing that I'd have to go in there. It was simple things. I couldn't get it'd have to be a particular pair of jeans, a particular pair of shoes. I'd have to do sing songs, trying to get him ready for the bus. Will was on the bus, go round and round, most of the time it didn't work. And then try to get him on the bus. And if it was a different bus driver, forget about it. So,
Any change, yeah. I can, I know that for the parent, the level of anxiety around certain situations that everybody else just takes for granted as normal and they don't have to deal with, it is intense. And to live with that every day, the
mhm,
stress that builds up, yeah, I absolutely can relate to what you're talking about. I remember that exact scenario myself.
mhm. And it's kind of an all day thing too, because you never really know what's going to pop up and create a situation. And sometimes it's in public, which is even worse.
People
But
don't know, they don't understand, they're judgy. Yeah, yeah. Unless
mhm,
you're a parent of a child with autism, you have no idea really
mhm,
what it's like. So that's
mhm,
why people just need to be really more understanding. They don't know what's really going on for somebody.
mhm. I think from the moment of the diagnosis, my life absolutely changed. I think that, or I remember driving down the road. It must have been like three days after the diagnosis, and it felt like I was having an out of body experience. The amount of grief I was feeling at that point, because Paul Robert had already been having tantrums and meltdowns and picky eating and uh, sensory issues. And it was, I was thinking this was going to be the rest of his life and the rest of my life. And you cannot really describe that to anyone. You can't. It's the you're stuck between grieving for your child, but your child is still here, and you have to get out of bed every morning and keep moving forward. So, you know, as far as moving forward goes, I made the leap and joined the program, and it was a simple process at the beginning. Once I got past the fear of taking that first step,
Hmm.
it's it is not easy to have trust that this is going to work. And if you've ever seen the movie Indiana Jones, at the very end of, I think it's Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think, but he puts his foot out and he has to make a decision to take the step. And is he going to go barreling down into the cavern of the, into the abyss, or is he going to, is he going to be able to walk across? And as soon as I started doing some gut healing and modifying his diet and removing the dairy and removing the gluten, um, I felt like my feet were on solid ground. Something had caught me. And not only that, there was someone on the other side reaching their hand out saying, it's okay, just keep moving forward, keep
Hmm.
moving forward, with every step of the process and in the program, keep moving forward. And there's no pressure either. It's not like if you don't do this and that in 4 months, then you have completely blown your opportunity to help your child. You know, it's
Yeah,
it
it's
is a
true. And I think it's really important. And as you know, I stress that, I mean, constantly in the program, there is no hurry, slow is good. And this is human biology. Every child is different. You can't expect two children, even two children in the same family, to go at the same pace forward, because it's how their body is, their healing process, and everybody's different. So slow is good. And I think that, I'm glad to hear you say that is helpful for parents, because you don't feel like there's any keeping up or you're doing something wrong, or you just know to keep just taking, keep moving forward, period. But, and then having the forum to ask your questions if you have something, because support, as you know, is huge. If there, because I know it from personal experience, if there's oftentimes nobody to reach out to ask for help, and what do I do, or simple things that come up, and being able to have somebody to encourage you, support you, and offer you guidance when you're, you know not sure what to do next, is, have you found that helpful? Yes.
absolutely a lot of troubleshooting. I am one of those people awake at night reading questions from other parents on the forum, because even though I may not have that same question right now, more than likely I will in the future.
Exactly.
And more than likely somebody else will have the same questions I ask.
Hmm.
I follow the roadmap. It's all laid out. If you run into this issue, then go over here and read this information, and then you can try to troubleshoot it that way. And at the same time, you have an incredible amount of support. Anytime I ask a question, within 24 hours, generally, I'll get my response back. And it's not a simple response. It's not a yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, you're going to be fine. It's not a pat on the back. It is a thought out answer to the question. And with that comes a lot of security and knowing that you have done your research and you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, that's one thing that I stress, is that, I have 30 years background studying the brain for craniosacral therapy in my practice as well, but then I have now 15 years of direct research in autism, and I'm like you, I am like all in. When my son got diagnosed, I was told to drug him, try behavioral therapies, and good luck. There's nothing you can do for him. And I was like, what? That is your answer? There was no support, and I had nobody else to. I began reaching out, and I just really quickly, as most parents do, realized that it was really up to me to figure it out. That nobody had the answers, nobody knew what to do, nobody was really that helpful, and so I just dove in. I have researched and researched and researched, and I continue that research, and I still even interview experts and continue the research to make sure that I'm up on, the most current everything that can be the best, because I also know that my knowledge is now able to help hundreds of people worldwide. And so That's the important thing, is to be able to pass on what I can to help you, with your child.
Yes. And, parents who have children that are recovered from autism, I think sometimes they get so weary uh, through the fight that when their child is recovered, they it's time for them to move on and start a new chapter. And I've talked to other parents before with recovered children, and they know how difficult it can be. Um, and it takes someone with an amount of compassion and passion for this particular, for kids on the spectrum, to continue moving forward and to continue to be a voice and to continue to bring hope, even in spite of those people who may say that recovery is not possible. You're going to, within my own family, I have a very, very supportive family. Um, but occasionally, time and time again, from certain friends and family members, they wouldn't say, well, what you're doing is crazy, but it's kind of like, huh, I that's interesting. I've never heard of that before. Or, you know, I feel kind of almost embarrassed sometimes to be like, well, we're gonna do this and we're gonna try this and we're gonna start this. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. It does not matter. I've seen what my son is capable of, and I know that he is going to be okay. He's going to be okay.
That is the most important thing, for you to have that sense in your own heart of knowing that he's going to be okay.
Mhm.
Because as soon as you can calm yourself down as a parent and go, okay, we're all right, then you're able to move forward, and it helps to keep the positive mindset, because that is so important, even in the face of challenges, because those challenges can get really challenging, as we all know.
Mhm.
And yeah, there are naysayers out there, and people, and that's why, I'm always saying every child's level of recovery is different, but they all can improve. We have kids who are completely, as you're saying, nonverbal, who are now speaking, many of them endlessly. Kids who were getting D's and F's in school, and kids, my own son, we used to say, "Mom, I want to, but I can't." And I knew how smart he was. He's really, really, really smart. And I was like, gosh, this is so frustrating for me to watch him want to and not be able to. And so once we got the inflammation out of his body, his brain, the toxins, cleared him up, he's graduated college. He's able to, share his brilliance with the world, as I say, basically be who he really is, and kids who were D's and F's and now A's and B's. I mean, he's almost a straight A student, and he just couldn't think before. It wasn't that the IQ or the intelligence wasn't there. That's why I think if every parent is willing to take that first step and just keep going forward and finding the mentor, finding somebody who has lived it. I think that's important too. It's not just somebody who says, oh, well, I've studied this, or I work with this, but I've actually lived it myself. There's somebody who has been through it, because we understand, I think, at a deeper, passionate and compassionate level, and but a deeper understanding of what it's like to be that parent. Because 24/7 you're on, and it can get pretty stressful, and knowing that there's hope for your child, and that I know that every child can get better. Every child. I just talked to somebody else. Her son is 27, and he was nonverbal up until 5 months ago when she started the program. I mean, that's huge,
Mhm.
so, and why wouldn't every parent want to do anything they can to help their child to just live their most fulfilling life?
Mhm. Yeah. The body is extremely powerful, and we want to be able to help unlock all that potential. And I kind of view it as little keys, with every with everything that we implement along
Uh-huh.
the way. They're little keys, and little teeny things start to pop out. Sometimes there are a couple aspects to the program, and I think you've mentioned this before, where okay, this can cause some behaviors, but just take a breath, hunker down, and know it's coming. Really appreciate that because I like to put a name to something. I like to be able to kind of have a plan. Um, when my plans are disrupted, I get really upset. So I like to be able to kind of know what to expect. And it is not, it's not pretty sometimes, but you know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel and you can just push through. And then you see this just wonderful little being uh, develop another skill or another um, able to handle wearing something other than jeans. You know, it's the little things. And if you're looking around at other parents that have neurotypical kids, it can be really easy to feel defeated because here I am over here celebrating, oh, he ate with a fork today, things like that. And God bless them. Those parents try to be supportive, but it is very important to have a circle, a ring around you and become part of the ring around others and lift each other up and be able to have a real honest conversation about what's going on.
Right. The community inside of the Naturally Recovering Autism membership. The members are amazing. And I know, you've seen the challenges. You can say whatever you want. It is a private area. That's another thing. It's private because there's a lot of shame that goes on for people too, and embarrassment. And this is a place where, you can talk about anything that's going on and nobody's going to judge you because everybody else is going through the same thing and they know what it's like because they are actually living it themselves, not just saying, oh, that must be hard, but really getting it. And yeah, that is huge to have that level of, like you said, that ring of that community around you.
Mhm. Another aspect I wanted to mention was that because I am a researcher, I look into if there's any kind of supplement or anything for that matter. I spend hours upon hours researching which one is the best one.
You
I do
sound
that.
like me.
I can't even buy a toothbrush without, researching which one's the best one. So it really, really helps to have not only a path to go down, but I've already done the research for you. And this is a good, reputable product that you can trust. And of course, I go back and I do my due diligence and I recheck the
Yeah,
research.
good. That's fine with me. Yeah, absolutely. But you're not weeding through, as you mentioned before. You said so that the program has streamlined things for you, and as you're saying, and that's what I went through: 100 books, internet researches, then finding, globs of the same kind of supplement, probiotics. I mean, there's so many on the market and so many bad ones. And you have to kind of weed through to find the better ones, then figure out, of those which is actually really the best. Use them, find out for yourself if they're really, and all of this, like the research that I've put into this is like a decade and a half, literally now, of being able to take all of that and take the 95% of things that don't really help to find the 5% that are the very best that I found for our kids' special needs and what we want to do and the best products. And in how to use them is important, and knowing dosages too, because you can't just give a child a dosage that's on a bottle, because our kids are super sensitive and you're going to have some really extreme reactions. I've seen people go really quickly or try a probiotic on their own or something, and they say, oh, I tried those before, I can't do that because my child got worse on them. Well, they didn't know about die-off. They didn't know how to support the detox pathways, what to do. There's a process to doing these things. So you had said that it's streamlined for you. So maybe you can share that, like what it was like for you, like before the program, and then now what the difference is.
Before the program, I was, doing my research into different things because there are so many different voices talking about different supplements, different brands of supplements. This worked for me and this didn't work for me. Or you would hear, uh, my child is completely recovered, or not even that, my child is now speaking. And then, okay, so what did they do? So I look into what they did, and then at the end of the day, I mean, it must have been, you put them all together and it's 500 different things that you would be doing all at the same time if you were to use everything that you've heard may or may not work.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of everything but the kitchen sink going in, and there was no order to it. There was no, there was no way for me to figure out what was doing what. It was just kind of like, okay, well, we'll do this, this, and that, and this is going to be the golden ticket. Um, well, come to find out, there is no golden ticket. It is a process, and it is a slower moving process. And there is an order to how you need to implement things. Um, so now, from starting the program, I started at step one, and I started working on the diet, and I started implementing the supplements from module one at a time, very slowly, as much as I wanted to speed it up. Anytime I would speed it up, it would cause problems.
Yeah.
It would cause problems.
Mhm.
Um, and the realization of, if I were to slow down and just follow each step as they're given in a patient manner, uh, as I would do that, I would start to notice improvements. It wasn't a complete disaster going on, you know. Some of like we mentioned, some of the things are going to cause die off. Well, what do you do about that? Because I had read about the probiotics and things that you had said about what you might see. I knew then that I had a plan of action to take. And after putting that plan into action to take, I was able to push por- push past that particular stage and then move on to the others. It was relatively easy once I slowed down and just followed the steps.
I think that's the hardest part for parents because you care so much and you want to see results as fast as you can, as we can, that, you know, you want to do a lot really quickly. New parent comes in the program, they get really eager. I watch it all the time. I'm like, slow is good, because they get so eager that they start doing too much too quickly. And I'm like,
Mhm.
as you learned, I mean, they'll learn on their own. Hopefully they won't be too hard, before they really understand, okay, slow down, slow down.
Mhm.
Slow is good. You're still going to get there. You're going to get there better. Like slow down to go fast, in a sense, slow down to go faster is the way it really
Mhm.
works. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too, where if you're researching or you hear about this particular supplement, uh, it's going to be in the program somewhere. Whatever that supplement is dealing with, there's going to be something in the program that is going to be dealing with that issue. It just may not be at the front end. It might be towards the back. You've got to do certain things and get the body kind of more in this operating process and working like a well-oiled machine before you start adding in more things to just kind of more of the cherry on top, you know.
Yes, absolutely. It is a definite process. I mean, there are things that are, like you say, they're not till module 2 or later on, even in the program, and people are like, "Well, don't I want to start this?" I'm like, "That supplement." They'll say, "What about this?" And I'll say, "Well, that is a really important thing, supplement that we all need, and this is why we're waiting to use that, because this and this and this can happen if you do it now." You really don't want those things to happen yet. You're better off to follow the sequence in the program. And it is,
Mhm.
I mean, that's what I hope to give people, is not only the hope, but the relief to the parents and the support to be able to have the actual roadmap to follow. Because I know what the overwhelm's like, and if you can just slow down, you can enjoy your life more, enjoy your child more, and work on yourself, because parents need to be able to take care of themselves too. So, that's what it's all about, is really, getting the whole family healthy, but being able to support that process and knowing what to do. I think sometimes just knowing what to do and when, and having somebody to reach out to ask a question to is, is just so powerful,
Mhm.
because that worry and that fear can really, take over if we let it.
Mhm.
So, what is Paul Robert like today?
He is he, he is thriving beyond belief.
Oh,
It's really, really incredible.
he's 5 now. Is that right? He's
Yes,
5
he
years old.
turned 5 in December. So we began with your program about a year and a half ago, I want to say. Um, my son, we noticed that he was looking at us when we call his name, which was huge. Then he began to say little words, which we caught on film, "Mama." What a miracle moment that was. Today, he is speaking not in full sentences, but he's putting sentences together. He is counting. He can pick out his ABCs if I ask him to. He doesn't have any sensory issues anymore. So I actually ask him in the morning to go get dressed, and he picks out his clothes, and it's not jeans. And he can wear different kinds of shoes. And when I get him on the bus now with no issues, by the way, he looks out the window and he waves bye bye before the bus takes off to school. He is playing with his brother. He is playing imaginative games. He likes to dress up in his fireman uniform. And we're talking about a child who is completely in his own world and had no interest at all about who was around him or who anybody was. There was no playing games. There was no anything. He was just in his own world. And now he is bouncing all over the house with a happy smile on his face and greeting me and his brother and his uncle. And it's just it's just amazing. He has become quite the little man. I'm able to hear his heart and hear what he thinks about things. And so now my bond with Paul Robert is a bond from mother to child that took a lot of work to get there, but it is incredibly strong. And it's like I think of it like little kernels of popcorn. Every child pops at different stages, but once you get that heat to where it needs to be and those kernels start going, then watch out. He is just popping all over the place.
Oh,
Every day something new. Every day.
oh, I'm so happy to hear that. That's that's wonderful, Shannon. And you know what? You are his hero. You have to remember that. He now can connect with people. His sensory issues that used to drive him probably crazy, that, just as crazy it did as it did you. The overwhelm, the clothing bothering you, and now he's also got independence because you now know that his life is leading to an independent one, and that's important for him to be able to live his own independent life, speaking, connecting with others, making friends, having people in his life outside of the family that he can connect with as well. All of those things. But this journey, you were the one who took him to this. You implemented everything, and had the willingness to join the program. You had the willingness to take the steps, go through the challenges, regardless of how challenging they may have been at times, keep moving forward, and now you are seeing the results. So, you can always know that you are really the one. I would say I'm just a guide. I can show you what to do because I've been through it and I've done the research, but it's up to the parent to really take the steps, implement them, and really do it. So, I mean, basically you have given, Paul Robert back his life, and how's that feel for you? Right?
Well, it's my privilege.
Yeah.
I'm his mother, and it's my privilege and my honor to do what I can do for him. And I used to think of it as this terrible battle that I'd have to fight every day. And don't get me wrong, it is a battle. You have to fight.
Mhm.
But now we're just kind of moving forward in a more confident manner.
Mhm.
The fear that can overcome you at the beginning will not stay forever. My dad has this saying, he said, fear knocked on the door, faith answered, and no one was there. And I
Mhm.
think that faith in the potential of your child and your your courage that you have is much more powerful than the feelings of the fear that you may be experiencing. It is worth it. Just stick your foot out and make the leap. You're not going to fall. It's going to be okay. Your child can recover. I fully believe, and Paul Robert is well on his way. I fully believe in recovery. I've seen it with my own eyes. You've seen it. It is possible. It is an incredible journey. I hope to be like you one day where I can turn around and and help lots of people cross over that bridge like you do.
And
Uh,
you are right now.
I hope to be, I hope, and that's my heart. And I will forever be passionate about this. I think that parents of children on the spectrum are going through a very unique situation in their lives that they had no idea was on the way. But there are people who have been through it and come out the other side. There are people like myself that are in the middle of it still, and I will pop out the other side, and you will too. As a parent, just keep having that faith, and it will be okay.
Yeah.
It will be okay.
Thank you so much for sharing this. And for anybody who, when I do open enrollment to the Naturally Recovering Autism membership, there are sometimes parents who are really looking at it, they're on the edge, and they're wondering, is this real? And I'm hoping that listening to you, they're really understanding that it is and what it can offer. Is there anything that you would have to say to them that could help them in making a decision?
As a parent, we want to do everything possible for our children, and it can be completely overwhelming to try to navigate it by yourself. With this program, you not only have Karen walking you through the steps by step in a simple fashion, but you also have other people. And if you're anything like me, searching for a tribe, then you've found one, a group of support and a group of hope and a group to share ideas with no embarrassment, no shame, nothing but hope and encouragement. And if you're going to invest in your child, uh, invest in this program. I urge you to do that. It does, if anything, it will help you to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you will see differences in your child. It may not be the first day, but with patience and courage, you will.
I think the key really is patience too. Yeah, being willing to just keep moving forward uh,
Mhm,
and believing. Yeah,
mhm,
never give up. Yeah.
mhm.
Thank you again, Shannon, so much. I really, really appreciate you sharing your story. It's very heartwarming. It's very inspirational, even for myself to listen to. And I'm certain for many parents who are listening now and who need those moments of inspiration and hope and understanding from others who have lived it and knowing that that their child can get better and
Mhm.
to know that that is very important for everybody. So again, I appreciate your time and you being here and sharing with us today. And I look forward to hearing about Paul Robert's future.
Absolutely. I look forward to telling you.
Yeah, yeah, it is exciting. All those wonderful milestones along the way. You think he's 5 now, someday he'll be a college graduate, someday he'll be living in his own apartment. Someday, looking at his future and, really now how bright it can be. And
Mhm,
that's what's really exciting. I get
mhm,
goosebumps when I think about all that too. So, just knowing that we're giving our children the best quality of life, absolutely possible, and it is possible to do that. So again, thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
okay, thank
Alrighty,
you.
take care.